Hello, welcome back to the Coleman channel, and welcome back to the Tube Review, or the Tube Review, T-U-B-E, I don't know, we pronounce it very weird in Scotland and Glasgow anyway. Yes, welcome back to the Tube Review. If you're confused and wondering what are you talking about, I have never seen this series before, nor is there any videos that exist on this channel. Well, let me explain. The Tube Review was a series that I initiated on my old defunct second channel, Coleman 2, and I've decided, well, bring it back because it's a fun thing to do and it's a good series that matches kind of the content that we're trying to do over here on the Coleman channel, and it is very simply a review show. So yes, we're back, we're doing movie reviews and all that kind of stuff again, and what better a movie to initiate the return of the Tube Review with than The Batman. Basically what we do is we start off the review with a very quick, spoiler-free review for those who have not seen the film. You just want to know if it'd be worth watching or not worth watching. I give you the skinny and what I thought about it, if it was good or bad or indifferent, and then for those who don't really care about spoilers or they've seen the film already, we're going to do a nice dive into what I thought about the film or the show or whatever it might be. And then at the end of the review we do a nice little ranking with my patented, very epic, very special lame to epic ratio, which is just it's just a tier list. There it is there, that's the wrong finger, there it is there. And that we basically place the film or the show, whatever the heck it may be, on this tier list from most epic to the tippy top to the most lame and the very, very bottom. So yes, The Batman, everyone's raving about it right now. It's the big, super epic film that everyone's been waiting for, the latest depiction of the Batman character in Gotham City, and you know, all the things that, you know, everyone knows what Batman is, so I'm not going to get into that. All you need to know is this is the latest depiction of Batman as a character. So yes, what I thought about the film, completely spoiler free. Was it good? Was it bad? I thought the Batman was good. I thought it was damn good. I really, really liked it. It wasn't amazingly mind-blowing like I thought it would be when it was like when trailers came out and all that kind of stuff when we first started seeing it. I think maybe like, was it 2020 the first trailer came out? I don't know, it's a long time ago it feels like since we saw the first trailer for the Batman. And I thought it was going to be probably the best Batman film of them all. But it's certainly up there as a very close contender. For those of you who did not know, my favourite Batman film of all of them is the original 1989 Tim Burton adaptation of the character, with Michael Keaton as Batman and Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Probably already know what that is. That's probably my favourite film over like films like The Dark Knight or the you know, Affleck films. Not that it's much of a difficult thing to do, haha. But yes, the 89 Batman's always been my favourite. I love the aesthetics of the film. You know, we're not here to talk about that film, but it's basically that's my favourite, you know. So does this overtake that film? No, not yet. It's a very, very close contender, however. It beats it out in a lot of different ways, but in a lot of other ways, that one, the original Batman 89 film, surpasses it. I actually did a tier list of all my favourite Batman films on Twitch, on my Twitch channel Coleman Live, which you should definitely check out. We're 4 followers away from the affiliate goal, just to let you know. It's very sick and epic and lit. You should go check it out and help us get to the magical 50 number, because we are so goddamn close. Anyway, but yeah, I thought it was damn good. Definitely worth seeing if you're a Batman fan. You should just go watch the film because it's absolutely fantastic. You know, if you like Batman, I would be very, very surprised if you were disappointed by this film, because if you like Batman, if you like all the other films that came before it, and you just like him as a character, and you like, you know, the rogues gallery's got the story of, you know, his story in Gotham City, you know, and the character of the Batman, you know, his motivations as to why he is a vigilante, his relationship with you know, the police department and Commissioner Gordon and all that kind of stuff, and the relationships of other major villains and all that kind of stuff. You know, the big parts what make Batman such a great character. They're all here and on show in this particular film. So just, yeah, go check out It's very, very good. Right, okay, for the nitty gritty, what I really thought about the film, favourite parts and all that kind of stuff. There's a very good way to describe my thinking going into watching the Batman and then walking out of the film after my first viewing of it, which was about 3 days ago at this point. My friend Greg actually made a very good point about what he thought about the film, because I realised my sentiments are very much the same as his. For a Batman movie, it's literally everything that I would want from a Batman film. All the good parts that I would expect, and well, all the good parts I would love to see in a Batman film. All the things I'd want to make the best Batman movie ever. I think we're probably in this film. But despite the fact it wasn't mind-numbingly, fantastically amazing, despite the fact it was like everything I could have wanted, it was good. It was very, very good. I don't want to underemphasize the fact I thought this film was really damn good. It just was not mind-blowingly fantastic, you know? It's not a film that overtook my favourite one yet. And even then, it's a very, I don't know what it is. It's a very hard one to understand why. I guess we'll have to get into the nitty gritty of it, obviously. Obviously, the whole idea of this film is it's kind of, I guess it kind of strikes me as, in a weird, not like a back-to-back adaptation, but it takes a lot of notes from one of the best Batman comics of all time, Batman Year One, which, as the name implies, it's literally Bruce Wayne and his transition into Batman and his beginning as the vigilante, and making a name for himself in Gotham City and all that kind of stuff. It's not exactly the same, but it kind of takes notes from that. This is like Batman Year 2, literally, because this is Batman's second year as this vigilante in the streets and all that kind of stuff. So I like the idea of a young and inexperienced Batman. That's always a very good way to start off, because all of these films that we've seen previously have either been Batman's been about for a very long time, or even films like the Ben Affleck movies where Batman's like been fighting crime for like a decade, I think it is, something like that. He's been very much an established character for a very long time. I think Batman Begins was one of these movies. It started with Batman just starting off as a vigilante, but you don't really see anything like you do with the Batman, where he makes mistakes. He still tumbles and fumbles and stuff like that. Probably one of the best examples. The whole point of that is Batman is not a vigilante fighting for good, for hope, for the people. He's more or less fighting for himself. He's got a bone to pick with crime, and he's really just exacting his vengeance, as that is like a big theme of the film is vengeance. Batman calls himself Vengeance. Everyone calls him Vengeance in the film, and it's all about how he's got a bone to pick with criminals. He's avenging his parents, and it's not really about saving people. It's more about him getting his own back and cleaning up the streets for his own, I guess, for his own gain. Not for his own gain, but more like for his own peace of mind, I suppose. It's literally the whole idea of the film is like it's 90% Batman and then 10% Bruce Wayne. You barely see Bruce in this film at all. He's most of the time Batman. He's introduced as Batman at the beginning of the film. We see Bruce Wayne, I want to say like maybe for like 5 or 6 scenes, maybe. There may be a bit more, a bit less, but you barely see the guy. He barely shows up, and it's made a point that he never turns up in public anymore. No one ever sees him. He doesn't really do anything for Gotham City. He's not like out there making it, with his name in lights. He's like a recluse, which is that gets the point across that he's obsessed with his mission and obsessed with being Batman and exacting vengeance and all that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting parallel to the other films where Batman's been kicking it, or Batman Begins, where he starts off as Batman, but he's like kicking ass and taking names already. And like I said, he makes mistakes and stuff like that. There's a really cool scene where he activates a wingsuit and flies, but his dismount is pretty bad. Like he tries to go under a bridge and land on a truck, but he basically slams into a light, bangs into the truck, and fucking barrel rolls across the ground like 7 or 8 times, and he feels it. So that's pretty cool to see that he makes mistakes. and he's like, that was probably the first time he ever flew as well, because you can see him when he goes on the roof, he like reacts like, oh god, the time to put the wingsuit for the first time. That kind of stuff is pretty cool. And that was probably my favourite, what's the word, through line for the narrative, I guess. Like, the story was great, and it's that in itself. I think that was my favourite point of the whole thing, was Batman's Bruce Wayne. The relationship between Bruce Wayne and Batman is probably my favourite thing of the whole film. Because that's not really a thing that's been seen before in any of them. It's mostly just about Bruce Wayne, you know, being the billionaire playboy philanthropist that he is, flexing that he's got cash money and stuff, and then, you know, Batman going around and just kicking the fuck out of criminals. This time it's more like the very unhealthy relationship that Bruce Wayne has with this persona that he has in the early years of Batman, not doing it for the sake of the people, the innocents that can't protect themselves. He's just like got a serious bone to pick, and he's just beating up criminals to make himself feel better, which is really, really cool. Obviously, the other major point of this film that everyone was looking forward to, that I was looking forward to, was the detective aspect, which has basically never been explored in a Batman film until now, which is pretty crazy to think about, because literally one of the biggest aspects of Batman's character is he is the world's greatest detective. That is one of his titles. Literally, the first comic book that he was in was called Detective Comics. Not only is he a crime fighter, he's a detective as well, who solves mysteries in a very Sherlockian kind of way, where he's in the room. There's a lot of crime scenes in this film. He's always there, walking around the room, taking it all in, uncovering the riddle, you know, which is why the Riddler, again, was such a great choice for this particular film as a detective movie, because that is one of the biggest points of the Riddler. Obviously, is his modus operandi is he leaves clues and riddles, and in this film in particular, ciphers and all that kind of stuff, for the law to try and uncover his tracks, which is so a really good choice of villain for that particular kind of film, and it really works very well. A lot of it makes a lot of sense as well. Like, it's not like just dumb, if that makes sense. It's not like dumb detective stuff that doesn't really make sense or put together. But one of my favourite examples of that is the thumb drive thing, where a bunch of clues are left over. A man gets murdered. I can't remember the exact thing, but basically they uncover a clue. Oh yeah, they find a clue that says drive, which leads them to the victim's garage, which is for the cars and stuff. They find the one car that has a tire puncture thing in it, and then they're looking for a pen drive. There's a USB port in it, and then it's password protected, and they can't get into it, but then they realise it's a fingerprint, and then they find out, the victim has a missing thumb drive, beep, all that kind of stuff. That was a very layman's term. That's a very layman's description of what's going on there, but that's a good example of the kind of detective work that was going on there. Admittedly, there was some really, well, I would say there was one major bit that was at the very least very much reaching, and the very most pretty fucking dumb. And it's literally near the very end where they uncover the Riddler's ultimate final phase to his plan. Where Batman is in the Riddler's apartment looking at the crime scene. He picks up the murder weapon for the beginning of the film, and then a cop's literally just there in the room, and the cop goes, "Hey, I recognise that tool. My dad's a carpet guy. He rips up that tool's for ripping up carpets." And there's a carpet. You can see where this is going. There's a carpet in the apartment, and goes, "Wait a minute. There's a carpet tool." The whole fucking map of layout of the Riddler's plan is there. You know, it would have made sense if they went about it a different way. The fact that it was literally just the cop was there and he went, "Oh, I recognise that, my dad's a carpet dude," that's a bit reaching and very, very lucky that he was fucking there, otherwise Batman would have had no idea. Because honestly, I like that idea. The first murder weapon is used as the key to uncovering the final phase of the Riddler's plan. It's just that the way that they found out what was going on was a little bit stupid. So it's like one hole in the whole detective-y part of the film that I didn't quite like, that didn't click with me. The relationship between Batman and Bruce Wayne, that whole plot line, was probably my favourite aspect of the film, and the whole detective aspect as well was great, obviously, because it's like the first Batman film where we get to see actual world's greatest detective stuff, and it was done excellent apart from that one minor little thing. So yeah, those are probably the two major aspects of the whole plot, of the whole narrative and story of the film, and I think both of them are nailed very well, basically excellent, I would say. Oh yeah, and another part of the whole detective point obviously is there's a lot of like, you know, interrogations and stuff. There's a lot of going back and forth between people. That was great, you know, the whole thing was great. I loved the detective aspect of the film. It really did feel like a detective noir movie. Fantastic, I loved it. As for like the overall like story plot itself, it was definitely entertaining. I don't think there was anything really inherently wrong with the story itself. I would say more like the narratives and the plot lines I was more interested in than the story. Not that the story was bad in any way, but I'm just very much into the whole Bruce Wayne Batman thing, the detective work that's going on. Those two elements really probably helped the story move along. Obviously the detective part's a major aspect of it, but those two things are just really fascinating to me, and they made the story, it basically just lifted the story up even more, I suppose, and made it even better than it would have been without them, I suppose. And the story is literally just there as a serial killer on the loose who is the Riddler. A series of murders that are all connected with each other, and Batman working with Commissioner Gordon and on and off with the GCPD need to uncover what the Riddler's true plan is, where he's going to be next, and also how far the rabbit hole of crime is in Gotham City, which the Riddler is slowly uncovering as he continues to, exact his crimes and all that kind of stuff. Which that was a really good aspect of the whole thing, like showing just how far the rabbit hole goes with crime, like, you know, the Falcone family and the relationship with the GCPD. Again, another aspect that really dug into like Batman Year One, because Batman Year One is two stories. It goes into the Batman's narrative, Bruce Wayne's narrative, and Commissioner Gordon's narrative, because he's just starting off, and the GCPD's just moved to Gotham City, and he basically just finds out that the whole system is rigged and just filled with corruption and shady dealings with crime bosses and all that kind of stuff, and just the whole thing is done a different way, and not the way that Gordon likes. And that's a big aspect of this film too. Like, you know, the vast majority of GCPD are corrupt, although that's not even true. There's a lot of cops that are actually good. There's a big point of that when they capture the leader of the Falcone family. He's like, hey, I got all the caps in my pocket, and then they come out and like there's actually a lot of good cops after all, which I guess is supposed to be like a nice point that, you know, there's some good in the law of Gotham City, but like there's a lot of them that are crooked. The story was great. I love the story itself, made all the better by the detective work from Batman going on, and the inner struggle between Batman and Bruce Wayne all throughout it, which all comes to a head in the third act of the film, which I've heard a lot of people say is like the weakest point of the film, and I can see why, because when the third act happens, when the Riddler's grand plan is finally enacted, which is a pretty crazy thing that happens, like floods the entirety of Gotham City by blowing up the dam, the major points of the dam, is the dam around Gotham, which I like that. I also like how, you know, things go from bad to worse, and Batman's always like a couple of steps behind. Kind of reminded me of like Arkham Knight, the video game, where like Scarecrow fills the whole city with fear gas, and Batman is just like barely fucking like keeping up with all this horrible stuff that's happening. It's a good feeling of like, oh god, it just got worse, and that was the oh god, it just got worse kind of moment. But when that happens and he's in like the stadium fighting all of Riddler's followers, yeah, it basically just did turn into like a traditional Batman superhero film. All like the detective aspects are gone, all the noir aspect is gone, and it's just Batman kicking out some criminals and stuff. I can see why that'd be the weakest point. Not that that's a bad thing, but like it is definitely like it titters off near the end of that point, because all the things that make the Batman this film so great kind of flitters away, because the investigation's done at this point. You know, the Riddler's been put in Arkham Asylum, the final phase of the plan's been enacted, and the Batman's getting ready to stop and all that kind of stuff. But the best part of the end was the Batman's final transition from exacting vengeance to becoming a beacon of hope for the people. The biggest symbol for that was obviously when the whole stadium's flooded All the survivors like huddled around in the back, hiding behind debris and stuff. The Batman falls into the water, lights a flare, and literally guides the way for the people of Gotham to safety, which is absolutely fantastic shot. The cinematography in this film is absolutely fantastic. We'll get to that, but that was a really strong point near the end that kind of saved the otherwise falling away, like typical Batman hero aspect of the film, where he fully transitions from this vengeful character who's not really interested in saving people, more just doing it for his own peace of mind, to realizing that he needs to become a symbol of hope for the people that can't protect themselves, and by guiding them away to safety. And the final scene where there's this kid who, the first murder victim I mentioned earlier, his father gets killed, and Batman obviously sees a lot of himself in this kid. He gets helicoptered to safety. He holds the kid's hand as the kid gets lifted away, which is a really nice bit where it shows that Batman is not just a symbol of fear, which he tries to mold himself into for the whole thing. Fear is a tool is one of the things that he says, but he's not just a symbol. He can be both. He's a symbol of fear for the crime aspect of the town, of the city, and he's a symbol of hope for those who can't protect themselves. It was really, really nice. It was a really nice point to end on, and obviously because the knowledge is out that a trilogy is in plans, I look forward to seeing how he transitions from this vengeful character to a beacon of hope and a symbol of fear at the same time. How he's going into that in-between point will be very, very interesting to see, and one of the things I'm most excited for about the next film, whenever that happens. As for the performances themselves, pretty much every character in this was honestly great, like the major characters, which are basically Batman, obviously, Alfred, who actually is not in it for very long at all, which is very interesting. We'll get to that, but yeah, Alfred was one of the major characters. Catwoman, the Penguin, the Riddler, obviously, Commissioner Gordon, and Carmine Falcone, I would say, are like the major characters of the whole film that like drive the narrative forward and all that kind of stuff. Every performance was fantastic. Every character in the role was great. All fitted perfectly with Matt Reeves' vision of this, vision of Gotham City that he's created. Everyone fits in very perfectly, and they're all great. I really did like every character. It wasn't a character I thought, could have been better, could have been worse. No, they were all great. I really enjoyed pretty much all of them. Robert Pattinson, when he got selected for the role, I thought immediately that he'd be fantastic. I think Robert Pattinson's a great actor with a lot of range. A lot of people might go, oh, he's the Twilight guy, but that's people who not really have seen any other Robert Pattinson stuff. He is a great actor with a lot of range. He's done a lot of very crazy, out there, I wouldn't say experimental, but very art housey, different films, to say the least. He's got a lot of great range. Like The Lighthouse is the one that I always go to for someone who mentions Twilight. Watch The Lighthouse because his performance in that is absolutely fantastic. It just shows it's up for like any kind of weird film with like a very different thing going on with it. He plays well with other great characters and all that kind of stuff. So when he got picked for the Batman, I was surprised. It didn't seem like the kind of thing he would do, but I was pleasantly surprised because I thought he would be very good in the role. I didn't quite like the look of his Bruce Wayne when the trailer came out. I felt kind of like a bit of an emo goth kid, but and half the time he was like half in his Batman makeup, like with the black eyes and his hair's all messed up and stuff. He looked great there. He looked dishevelled, like he's been in the Batman persona for ages, and he's almost forgetting who Bruce Wayne is, which is pretty cool. But no, his performance was phenomenal. I loved his narration over the film. I really did feel like we were reading, the little narration text box in a comic book where we're going through scenes of Gotham City and you read Batman's narration over the whole thing. It really felt like all of his narrations were taken from a comic book and he read them phenomenally. His Batman voice is great, not ridiculous at all. He's not going like this, and he's not got a voice changer over him or nothing like that. He just speaks and he sounds great. He's got a good voice for the role and all that kind of stuff. Batsuit is absolutely fantastic. One of my favourite Batsuits, if not my favourite Batsuit ever. That classic, just grey you know, grey suit, black symbol, black cowl, like the classic Batman look. And I could really feel the hatred they had for crime and all that kind of stuff. And it was just, you could feel how good he felt in that suit as well. Like the opening scene when he first appears, where the bat symbol's in the sky, criminals are like, oh shit, he's near. And like the whole idea is he's molded himself into this fearful object that could be in any shit. He can't be everywhere like he says, but he is everywhere because he is the darkness. He's in the shadows everywhere and all that kind of stuff. When you see him appear out of the darkness, it looks great. Fantastic opening for the Batman. Looked great. Paul Dano as the Riddler, admittedly an actor I've not really seen in anything, I don't think, not that I know of. Feel free to listen to the comments, any recommendations you'd have of Paul Dano in it, because I thought Paul Dano was really good in the role as well. It's a really different, interesting depiction of the Riddler. Not this, but I was going to say not this Riddler, I mean this aspect, but actually it takes a lot of the classic Riddler tropes that we all know and love, like, you know, riddle me this, asking riddles and all this stuff like that, and leaving clues. But mixing it with this really actually quite freaky mix between the Zodiac Killer and Jigsaw from the Saw series of films. Really great. And also almost a mix of like Heath Ledger's Joker with like the you know, filming his victims on a phone and stuff. It was almost the exact same as that one scene where Heath Ledger just like fucking, look at me, you know, that scene where he's like recording his victim on the phone. But it was more like Saw. Basically, yeah, he's got that Zodiac Killer thing going on with him, with the leaving behind of ciphers and stuff, and the murder spree, and no one knows what he looks like and stuff. And Jigsaw with like these weird head contraptions he's left behind, that he leaves and puts on his victims and stuff like that. Yeah, really cool. Really, like, the puzzly aspect of the whole thing comes into it. There's a lot of different inspirations there from, I would say, like real life serial killers and, you know, fictional slasher villains, particularly Jigsaw, who himself is interested in puzzles and riddles and stuff. So it all comes together very well. I mean, it's like very almost like horror villain kind of character, while also retaining all the classic Riddler, riddle me this, riddle number one, riddle number two kind of things, which they blend together very nicely. In terms of like the look of the Riddler, I do like the whole like the jacket he wears and like the spray painted, you know, question mark. I'm glad that the question mark aspect is still a big thing. So I don't know how I feel about the mask. It kind of reminded me of Batman Hush, the cartoon movie that they made, where it was an adaptation of the Hush comic. Only the big, you know, there was a big twist of who was the man behind the mask, but they changed the twist in the movie to be the Riddler, which is very interesting. The mask kind of reminded me of that a little bit, but I don't think that's where that was from, but it kind of made me of that. But yeah, I don't know how I felt about it. I liked he was wrapped up in cellophane and stuff, but the mask itself, interesting. I get the point, he's trying to hide his identity and stuff. Yeah, no, it was good in the role. Honestly, not even my favourite villain of the film, even though he was like driving the narrative. I liked him when he was like leaving ciphers and stuff, but I guess when he's in the asylum, it gets a bit weirder. Honestly, there are bits in that bit that make me laugh. I can't even lie, like his performance is great, you know, you can tell he's like unhinged psychopath, really. But there's a scene where he's like getting into an argument with Batman and he just stands up and he goes, no, ah, no, how's it supposed to go down? It was, you know, a good performance, don't get me wrong, it was great. Colin Farrell as the Penguin is probably my favourite villain of the whole fucking film. He was great. Kind of going away from this traditional like stout, you know, English monocle wearing top hat dude, but he's more like a mafioso kind of crime boss. Obviously the makeup is absolutely phenomenal. You could not tell it was Colin Farrell at all. To the extent that Matt Reeves, when he came onto the set for the first time, he thought it was just a random dude that got on the set and almost kicked him out. That's how good the makeup was, and it is really good. Kind of almost reminded me of the role of the Penguin in the Gotham TV show. Except of becoming like this newcomer, gets kicked around a lot. He's like the second in command, waiting to get to the top. So he borrows that aspect where he's like constantly fighting for more control of the city. I guess in a way, great character, really funny, and humor that is not like, you know, smart ass, overly intelligent kind of humor. It's just his character is really funny and he's got a lot of good quips and stuff. Like my favourite bit was when he was getting shown, when they were interrogating him and he fucking gets shown a horrible picture and he goes, what are you showing to me? Come on! You know, that kind of stuff. He's just a great, hilarious character. and obviously he's part of one of my favourite scenes of the whole film, which almost made me feel like he could have been like the main villain. The car chase scene with the Batmobile, might even be my favourite movie Batmobile now. Mine's just Michael Keaton's for a long time, but my god, Robert Pattinson's Batmobile looks swish as all hell. It's great. That chase scene was fantastic, and I'm glad that he was the character that was getting chased in that scene. Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman was really great as well. Again, not this kind of. I wish that the Catwoman outfit was a little bit more Catwoman-like. Like, the only connection she had with this character was she had a lot of stray cats, like Batman Year One, and she has a little beanie with like little cat ears on it, and that's kind of the only thing that she's got. Would have been nicer to see, like, you know, the Catwoman goggles, maybe even the whip. Maybe the whip would have been a bit too ridiculous at this point in time, but you know, a bit more Catwoman stuff would have been nice. I'm not talking like full Michelle Pfeiffer or anything like that, but something a bit more would be nice. And then obviously she's got the nails, the fake nails are like claws that she uses at some point. But Zoe Kravitz is great in the role, a great kind of like romantic interest for Batman. How they almost represent the same thing. Well, you know, Catwoman's a thief, but you know, she's morally good. She's taking money because she wants to get out of Gotham, but her morals are in the right place. And you know, she, as Batman kind of ropes her up into his investigation, they have a lot of common goals to put a stop to like the Falcons and stuff. The only difference is she's more willing to kill, which Batman still is not at all. But they almost become like a fighting duo, the first dynamic duo of the Batman trilogy, until they have to go their separate ways near the end of the movie. But no, she was a great sidekick for Batman. She was just great in the role. Really great Catwoman depiction. Cinematography, like I said before, was just absolutely stunning. I think I said that the 89 Tim Burton Batman was my favourite depiction of Gotham. Now, Matt Reeves, the Batman, is my absolute favourite depiction of Gotham City so far. The opening scene where it's like, I guess, a square where it's just covered in like ad screens and like tight you know, streets and old lamps. This kind of combination of like eldritch Gotham City with these old lamps and these old buildings and stuff, combined with this, you know, all the like modernistic TV screens and that everywhere. It kind of almost like the 89 Batman. A lot of the scenes are very condensed, very tight, dark, noir Gotham City. And this movie does the exact same, but I think just way better. It just looked absolutely fantastic. The shots were great as well. All the different shots of Gotham City and all that kind of stuff. Iceberg Lounge, one of the best shots as well. The lounge itself looked absolutely fantastic. The shot of Penguin and Batman talking, and the camera's like outside of the office that they're in, like panning towards the window, and all the clubby things are going on at the side, was absolutely mwah. Just a lot of really fantastic cinematography, some really good scenes that were shot really, really well. It just looked absolutely gorgeous. Fit with this idea of it was a detective in the noir film. It looks like it, you know. So you could have put Batman in a fedora and a trench coat and a tie, and it would have fitted perfectly with this depiction of Gotham City. I think Matt Reeves himself said this is the one film he made where it was just his vision. He didn't have to change anything, and I can see that. I could see Matt Reeves wanted it to look exactly like it, and it was executed phenomenally. Really, really fantastic. And the score, obviously, you can't forget the Batman theme. You know, one of the big parts of Batman films is the theme song. And my god, this soundtrack was really, really great. Particularly, I just want to mention the Batman theme. We've all heard about it already. The doom, 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 doom. It's the most ridiculously simple thing of all time. It's literally like, God, it's dum 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 over and over again, swelling exponentially as it goes, and it sounds so simple, but it's so empowering, so roided up. It just fits with, again, Batman. It's so perfect for him as the character, and the whole vibe of Gotham City, the whole noir aspect, it just blended so well. The synergy of all of the different aspects of the film were perfect. Score, cinematography, and you know, the story and the characters and all that kind of stuff blended so well to make a fantastic world of Gotham City and a fantastic narrative that's going to get built upon. I'm interested into seeing where it goes. I thought it would have been better as like a standalone film, but now that I've seen this, like I said, the transition of Batman being a symbol of vengeance and fear to a symbol of hope, I'm curious to see how that all goes along. And that reminds me, end credits, not even end credits, like the end scene was another part that I thought was really weak. My god. Teaser for the next big villain was pretty weak sauce, bruh. Basically, the Riddler makes a pal in Arkham Asylum. It's implied that it's the Joker. Batman and Joker are one of the most, if not the most iconic rivalry of all time. Surpasses everybody, Batman and Joker. So, not doing the Joker well is basically the equivalent of not doing Batman well. And I don't, like, it's not quite, I can't really, wouldn't be too fair for me to say yet, because you barely see him, and he's in it for not very long, but you do get to see enough of him, and you get to hear him, and I don't like what I see so far. It kind of looked really cheap. It sounds like it's going to be like a facial disfigurement smile thing he's got going on, and it looked, you can see like a slight grin. It looked very strange. The hair was pretty bad, and obviously the number one most important thing, the laugh. The laugh was corny as all hell. It sounded fake. Not a big fan. To summarize it all, pretty much delivered on everything I was hoping it to deliver on. So it was just an absolutely fantastic Batman movie, but for some reason, despite being everything I would want it to be, I guess there was something missing. I don't know what it was necessarily. Maybe it was like it could have been more, I don't want to say action-packed, because there's a lot of action in it. It's hard to say, like, I don't know what that missing piece, that very minuscule missing piece that would have made it the perfect Batman movie is right now. I can't quite nail it down. You may have to watch it yourself and see if you agree with me and see what you think it is. But it could be a mix between stuff like maybe it could have been a bit more, maybe the action could have been a bit more impactful, because while it's made out that it's going to be brutal beating up, you know, like the trailer that we first saw where Robert Pattinson punches the criminal like 50 times in the face. Probably does that like twice for the whole film. Other than that, it's, you know, some good action sequences and, you know, Batman just being badass and stuff. But honestly, it wasn't as much as I thought there would be, I guess. You know, say what you will about stuff like Batman vs Superman with all the action sequences of Ben Affleck where he's literally killing people, which is very not Batman at all, but those action sequences are pretty damn cool. And I guess maybe the Batman could have done with a little smidgen of that, minus everybody getting brutally murdered and stuff. Don't get me wrong, like I'm saying, there were some really great action sequences, like in the Iceberg Lounge where he's fighting everybody, the hallway scene with the gunfire, one of the best shots of the whole film. The opening fight scene, obviously, again, the two scenes where he's absolutely bludgeoning innocent dudes. That's so great, but I don't know, maybe some more crazy in the Batmobile chase is one of the best ones they've ever done so far. But maybe, I guess, more of that condensed in this film, because it was a fairly long film, 2 hours and 47 minutes. Oh yeah, and of course, for the length of the film, they used the time very well. But yeah, I think in summary, that is my thoughts on the Batman. We're gonna put it on the epic to lame ratio. I would say the Batman deserves to be low tier, most epic, to high tier, very epic. I think that's definitely the right place for it, because like I said, it's probably my second favourite Batman film at this moment in time. Literally everything I would have wanted for a Batman film, but for some reason there was a little thing missing that didn't make it fully complete. Like I said, maybe it needed more action or something like that to condense the whole thing. I don't know. And that is my review of the Batman, everybody. That is the return of the Tube review. Hope you enjoyed this review. What were your thoughts on the Batman itself? Leave a comment below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Were you indifferent towards it? What's your favourite Batman film? All that kind of stuff. You live in the wonderful world where everyone has different opinions and all kind of things. So I'm interested to hear what you think. If you disagree with me, interesting. Why don't you tell us about it? Yeah, thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. This has been a Tube review. More reviews like this to come. This series will be a staple part of the Coleman channel moving forward. I'll be keep doing stuff like behind the process as well. I think Coleman's Career Perspective will be out on the channel at this point, so I hope you've enjoyed that video. Brought my back on that. The next one is in the works right now. I've decided what topic I want to cover, so that is the main part of the channel. Look forward to more of those. Look forward to more streams on Coleman Live and all that kind of stuff. You can follow me there, Coleman Live. Subscribe here. So like, subscribe, comment, share, bell, please. Follow me on Twitter at Papa Coleman for more updates on what I'm working on. And I don't know, follow me on TikTok if you want to see some editing / streaming funny things. Anyway, this has been a Tube Review. I have been Coleman. Thank you for watching The Batman.